Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Robin. I'm a former intelligence officer and a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. Back in school, I was always the curious kid who tried to figure things out. I still am. Are you tired that today a lot of people have to work almost the entire day, yet they earn almost nothing, while others, without lifting a finger, can haul in millions or even billions? Are you tired that today some people live off others' misery? And are you tired that today we're destroying the environment while there are hundreds, even thousands of ways to save it? Well, so am I. And because of this, I've decided to start a political movement. So this is the introduction movie, or rather, the introduction slideshow. So watch it, and if you like it, feel free to share it and subscribe. Have a nice day.
So, what I will go through in this video is 1. The current situation on a global level, 2. The cornerstones of the current economic system and its flaws, 3. Our movement aims, or what I call a global timeout, 4. What a resource-based economy is, and finally 5. The new system which I have in mind. The current situation. Each year we are now using a little bit more than 1.5 times the amount of the resources which the Earth can produce in a year. If present trends continue, we'll need 2 Earths by 2030 and 3 Earths by 2050. The Arctic could be ice-free in the summer of 2030. We have the highest atmospheric levels of greenhouse gases in 800,000 years. The Greenland ice sheet is melting, and if it melts completely, it will mean a rise of sea levels by about 7 meters, which will mean a flooding of many of our coastal cities. Increased temperature will speed up the natural carbon cycle, releasing even more carbon dioxide. Methane, a greenhouse gas more than 20 times as powerful, is currently being released from the thawing permafrost. It is estimated in a report that we have approximately 3 years to reverse this trend, or we will end up in territory unknown. 90% of the top predators, such as shark, tuna, have been fished from the oceans. 10% of coral reefs are estimated to be degraded beyond recovery, and 60% of them could be lost by the year 2030. The primary threat being acidification. 1/3 of all amphibians, 1/5 of all mammals, and 70% of all plants are in threat of extinction. By 2030, the lions could be gone. Despite of this, we're cutting down an area equal to 36 football fields every minute, often in highly indebted countries. Debt is absolutely not by accident, as I will soon explain, yet it has a profound impact on our life and plant and animal life alike. As a matter of fact, since the year 1970, we have killed 50% of the animal populations on the planet. And unfortunately, we do not seem to be stopping there. Our world can be compared to a petri dish in which our civilization can be likened to bacteria growing too fast and consuming more energy than can be reproduced. This will lead to a collapse like the one on the Easter Island, but this time on a global scale, unless we change our ways and find alternatives, which there are several, as I will explain later. First, let's focus on the economic system which has created a world where the 62 richest persons, a number easily fitted into a single bus, own more than the poorest half of the world's population. This economic system has also created a world where each year about 6 million children die from easily preventable diseases which could be prevented for virtually no cost at all. The 3 cornerstones of the current economic system is the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and the World Trade Organization, or WTO. Modus operandi. These three organizations operate according to certain patterns, or what we call modus operandi. I will describe this more deeply in another video, but I will cover it briefly here. The World Bank, its group and its sister organization, the IMF, they use monetary monopoly to give loans to organizations and states, thereby putting them in debt, which then has to be repaid with a certain interest. Because of this, they will automatically receive more money than they lent out, as long as people play by their rules. Almost the entire world is therefore now caught in a web of debt, and because the money only originates from different banks, there will always be those who cannot repay, and an inability to repay means that the banks are free to take their property. This property can then be bought by anyone who can afford it, thus further concentrating wealth and power to the top of the system. In highly indebted countries, therefore, natural resources like wood have to be sold to pay off debt, which naturally increases deforestation. On top of this, the IMF generally refrains from interfering with internal affairs and instead places the money in the hands of a few rich ruling elites and large international corporations. The World Trade Organization uses rules and patents to keep both intellectual as well as physical property in the hands of the rich, when it instead could have been used to improve the lives of billions. And the effect of this is that this system has created a world where egoism is rewarded and people are kept from doing good things to one another by the fear of losing money. This system has created a world where wars are profitable, at least bankers, weapons producers and developers. It has also given us a depleted third world, which gives away more money to pay off debt than it receives in aid. A world of rich elites, starving people, with growing wealth gaps. The system has also given us the unsustainable consumer society we see today. To counter this system and build a sustainable society with human rights and environmental consideration as its cornerstones, I have decided to found the Greater Earth Movement. Movement aims. The immediate goal of the movement is to spread the concept of the global timeout, which has the purpose of slowing the world down to a sustainable pace in order to secure a firm foothold for mankind to be able to develop into a civilization of the future. The global timeout is divided into 8 sub-goals which the movement is trying to realize. They are, starting from the beginning, 1. Ban wars. Of course, this is very complicated and needs further details, but let's cover this briefly now. 2. Nullify international debt and remove the interest-based economy. 3. Limit personal wealth and distribute assets among the entire population of the Earth and create a system based on a resource-based economy. 4. Limit the population of mankind to a level able to be sustained on the Earth together with the rich biodiversity of other organisms. 5. Criminalize monopoly of physical assets, technology, and information, which, if kept egoistically, will cause the loss of lives or health. 6. Minimize activities that are harmful to the ecosystem of the Earth, even though this limits economic growth. 7. Prioritize technological progress to that which is necessary to achieve a sustainable life in balance with the world around us. And 8. Establish equal rights for all humans. More detailed information regarding the goals will be published in coming videos and the movement's political doctrine. Resource-based economy. A resource-based economy is a scientific socio-economic model created by the American inventor Jacques Fresco, which is applied on a global level to fulfill the needs of the entire population. A breakdown and interpretation of this systems-based approach is that you, initially, locate and evaluate the natural resources of the planet, Thereafter, monitor the rate at which they are reproduced and what our needs of each resource are. Finally, you distribute the resources as efficiently as possible at a sustainable rate with the environmental impact taken carefully into account. This system does not involve money, as we see it conventionally, but as I see it, we still need some way to motivate and reward people. This will also be covered soon. The new system. The new global system that I want to implement is a system with the purpose of supporting us as much as possible, in contrast to today's economic system, which has us supporting the system, the needs of the system, and a few persons in key positions. On top of the new completely transparent system is a guidance group of democratically elected leaders. Underneath are 5 branches: the Council of Scientists, with the Ministry of Science and the Global Database, the Ministry of Information, Coordination and Order, the Ministry of Resource Management, the Judicial Council and Ministry of Justice. The Ministry of Law will be covered in later videos as well as in the doctrine. The Council of Scientists is a group of the world's leading scientists in different areas of interest. These are tasked with providing the guidance group with relevant, up-to-date information on the global situation. That means the scientifically accurate global situation. With the current situation we face today, we can no longer afford to live in a fantasy created by political interests. When reality meets fantasy, reality will win any given day. The Ministry of Science is controlled by the Council of Scientists. It has a leading staff and several departments. These are just examples: ecology, sociology, health, energy, propulsion, construction, physics, meteorology, communications, computers and artificial intelligence, space. All the information is then stored in a global database, accessible to the entire population, similar to today's Wikipedia. It may even be based on Wikipedia, but far more extended. The Ministry of Information, Coordination and Order also has leading staff and departments: coordination, information, communications, education, law enforcement and justice. The organizational structure has a pyramidal shape from the global level down to the local level, increasingly adapted to local conditions to suit the needs of the ones affected. Decisions are made as close to the areas of interest as possible, allowing for greater independence and freedom for individual areas. Only during times of crisis can greater control be focused to the top of the system. The Ministry of Resource Management consists of leading staff and 3 departments. It also propagates throughout the world in a pyramid pattern, taking local conditions and desires into account. Its task is to tune our civilization to the rest of the earth so that the population can live at a standard as high as possible, while not trespassing out of bounds of the planet's ability to sustain us. The Department of Construction and Production's task is to construct and produce assets to meet the demands of the Earth's different systems. The Department of Logistics' task is to monitor the needs of the rest of the system and the well-being of the population, and then ensure that the desired assets arrive at their destination in the most efficient way possible. Healthcare resources will also be located under this department. The Department of Resource Monitoring's task is to monitor natural resources, energy supply, and at which rate they regenerate. From this, it then sets the limits for the rest of the world's systems. Human rights. The lack of planetary resources is only partially true, but only because the few use so much and leave so little to so many. When the Great Earth Movement grows strong, we will aim at undoing these differences and applying the following rights to every human being on the planet: the right to free healthcare and food, a place to live, education and knowledge in a society where you're free to express yourself in the spoken word as well as the written one, In the system of our movement, you are free to believe in what you want, as long as this belief does not harm others. You will have the right to freedom from persecution because of your sexual orientation and your sexual belonging, or because of which ethnicity you belong to. The movement will also promote free basic clothing and costless public transportation. Future energy. With current technology, ocean power can provide more than 80% of our civilization's energy needs. If used 4.1% of a global desert area, solar power could provide all our power. If used to full potential of wind power, about 10 times our energy needs could be met. Solar and wind power, however, might take up a lot of space, but technology is evolving, and if we evolve geothermal power plants, they could provide an astounding 3,600 times our current global energy needs. This is an energy which is both clean and takes up almost no space. What is paramount now is that we leave the fossil fuels we have found and will find far beneath the earth unused, leaving the arena open to our clean, renewable energy sources and all the sources that have very likely been suppressed by the fossil fuel industry. This is their time to shine. Work and reward. With the basic needs met as human rights, the individual is free to contribute to the society. In our future, beneficial actions should be rewarded rather than selfish gain. In this new system, currency will not be generated in banks and will instead be accumulated individually based on actions, and it will not be acquired on the expense of others. As a rule of thumb, reward should be based on three simple questions. How much help does it give? To how many persons? For how long time? This places the human well-being at the center of the system. In the future of the Greater Earth movement, automation is seen as something positive, as humans should have to work as little as possible and be free to think and create as much as possible. Thank you. This is the end. Have a nice day, and if you liked it, feel free to share. Bye.